retired Al. We had Allied just for a few months, and we retired him in October of 21. And he was, for the short time he was with us, he was incredibly popular. I want to say we had shoes from him in one of our auctions that went for a good amount of money. I didn't look that up, but he definitely was a club favorite. And so with his quick leaving of our club, he still had quite the following, and he is now in the wonderful hands of Claire. And now he is known as Alli, and he is, well, almost a year into life with you, Claire.
Yeah, so I met him actually almost a year ago, like in September, middle of September. You know, I just went to meet him, and then I just was kind of waiting patiently until you guys decided to retire him. But so it's worth the wait.
Yeah, no, and I know that at the time Grace had said, I think I have someone for this horse, and I think it's going to be a perfect fit. So before we make sure this works, yes, and it should still be sharing it. Claire, very kindly, I asked if she had video or photos of Alli to share with us, and not only does she have that, she created a whole video. So if you want to narrate, I'll stop talking, and I can pause if needed.
So that's the day I got Alli. I went to pick him up. So that's mid-October, October 18th, 2021. And that's him in the rehab paddock. We turned him out, if you want to pause it for just a second, but we turned him out when we brought him home from the track where I keep him. She was obviously not wanting to just immediately turn him out. We wanted to ease him into it. So we put him in the small rehab paddock to begin with, just to get him used to being a horse again. Okay, go ahead. So it was not a big enough space for him. He's quite the personality for sure. So this is my very, very first ride on him. And I hadn't ridden in a couple of months. And I was just trying to let him kind of be a horse at first. So that is December of 2021. So we gave him about 8 weeks off before I started working him. So, you know, he had to get used to the leg, you know, the full leg, and just kind of being in a smaller space. So, but he was really good boy that day. I just kind of took it easy the first couple of months, just building his confidence, really. So it's funny because when I would ride him in the indoor, when her horses are turned out, they come up, there's a paddock right next to the indoor, and they come up to the paddock and like peek into the indoor. I'm like, you little sons of guns. And then as soon as I'm done back in the barn, they go way out to the back field again, which is really funny. So that's, yeah, still first ride. So obviously, right, so he's leaning in on the left. You know, he just doesn't understand not to lean in. Pretty good boy. And this is 2 weeks later, so I gained a little bit more confidence. So he's not my first off the track thoroughbred, but he is my first one that I restarted completely by myself. So, I mean, I have the confidence, but at the same time, you know, he's still a baby. So that's like 2 weeks in. So you can see he's framing up. Sorry, I have to like put my phone on the ledge of the indoor. So that's like 2021. That's why it's so far away. Because I'm normally riding by myself, which is another reason kind of why I've been taking it slow, because I don't want to push it if I'm riding by myself.
Sure.
Yep, sorry, let's just hand the other way. And then that might be March. it's like so much space of like no horse because I have to wait to like come back around. I tried to edit it out, but I was doing it on my phone. So yep, that's also the other way. So we got to the point where he started to being a little resistant to going forward. So I kind of work. I'll talk about that in a little bit.
So you do, because I can go back if you want.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
It's that's Easter. My dad took that picture. All right, so that's my most recent. That was maybe a week ago. So he was a little tired. Thanks. My dad had gotten out there after I'd been riding him for about 40 minutes. So he's a little on the forehand, but you can see how he's coming up behind. I really worked this summer on, I was frustrated with myself because I was riding in the indoor. We get a little spooky in the outdoor because there's some shrubs there, and that's not me.
No. We'll go back to.
So anyway, he got a little spooked in the outdoor because there'd be deer jumping out at us. The first time he was like, no problem. And then the next 2 times he's like, no, I don't like this at all. So I lost my confidence a little bit in the outdoor. Plus it was so hot and dry. And then the bugs were really bad. And he's not a fan of greenheads or bomber flies at all. So, I started to get, in the beginning of the summer, I actually was pretty frustrated with myself just because my horse I had him for 19 years. And it was kind of like second nature, he and I together. So I was missing, because I don't ride in the indoor in the summer at all. I try not to ride in the indoor. So I was kind of frustrated with myself, and he was getting frustrated with me. And I said, this is going to get to the point where he's going to explode and I'm going to get hurt, and that's not going to help anything. So I totally readjusted actually how I warm him up. I take a good solid 10-15 minutes of walking, halting, circling, like just being very low key. Getting him to the point, like when I halt, he's like, no, I don't want to halt anymore. I want to go forward. So he'll actually naturally, like after 10 minutes of walking, when I halt and add leg, he'll naturally go into the trot. So that's been really good because he's very light in my hands, right? So he's a different ride from my other horse. My other horse, I constantly had to push with leg to push him forward. Alli does not want you constantly pushing him. He wants you to make him think it's his idea to go forward. So I would say the last couple of weeks, he's really like, he and I, like one day, a couple weeks ago, I went to add leg, and all of a sudden I could feel it clicking. He was like, oh, okay. So you want me to pull up through my back and go forward? So that was really a fun moment, because that's what's fun about restarting a young one, is that you have those moments where they just click. So that was really it's been kind of fun. So when I originally started riding him, I would ride him every other day, because the horse I restarted when I was younger, the trainer I had at the time said, with young horses, ride them every other day, give them a day to think about what you did. So I did that for a couple of months. And then I would say in the beginning of August, I decided to start riding him 2 days in a row, 1 day off. He really likes that, actually. I think it's a little bit more consistent for him. So that's where we've really made a lot of progress. So it's been kind of fun to see him. He loves trot balls. So if he gets frustrated with me, he'll bulge out to the left. He won't listen to my left leg. He starts, picking a fight, and I just point him towards the trot pole. He's like, oh, a trot pole. He just starts trotting towards it. It's pretty funny. But I was having a conversation with my where I keep my horse. Her neighbor starts a lot of babies, and she said, give yourself a break. She said, he's young, don't have a plan when you ride him, have a goal. And that really did help me, because if my goal is to get him to trot forward and soft, if I get so worked up about him backing off my leg, I'm not getting where I want to be. So I would ask a different way and change it up. So that's been really helpful to me to kind of reframe my own thinking. So I'm really just doing walk trot right now, which is fine because I'm working on extending the trot, collecting the trot, just getting him used to being supple. So I don't have to rush anywhere. So anyway, I don't know if anyone has any questions.
And yeah, and this is, your guys' time to ask, like, so I'm curious, you had said, he has a great personality. So, and because of the time that we owned him, if I met him in person, it was only once, whereas like other horses in our barn, I've gotten to know who, like, Why Not Tonight, literally like would snuggle with me in the barn. So tell us a little bit about Alli's personality.
Oh yeah. So he is, I don't know if you guys know the background, but I had lost my horse I'd owned for 19 years. He was 24. I lost him last August. And he was a very quiet personality. Like he was a very lovable puppy dog personality, but he was a very quiet personality. And, he would nicker and that kind of thing. But Alli's like, here I am, I'm Alli, and he really kind of helped fill that space in my heart that was missing, because it was like the worst 8 weeks of my life not owning a horse. And it's not that I don't miss my horse Levi, it's just that Alli, his personality is so vivacious that it really fills in, what I was missing. So, he's a baby, right? So he's still pretty like nippy with his, like he's still exploring with his mouth and stuff. And so I have to tell people, like, don't feed your fingers to my horse. But he definitely has opinions about things, but he is definitely like, I guess it was, what's today, Wednesday? So last Friday I got there because I was at work, and he ran into me because I've been going in the morning, and he was like, where have you been? It's all day and you haven't been here. So, and he's really funny. Like when he's turned out during the day, he knows what time I get there. So he'll wait for me at the gate, and they say I get there about 2:45 every day. He starts whinnying for me at 2:30. And her mom will open up the door and be like, she has 15 minutes, like give her a break. And he'll stop. It's really funny. So he's definitely a personality. So I feel like once he grows up a little bit more, I feel like that connection, I feel very connected to him. I did from the moment I met him, but I feel like that connection will be even deeper. But he's definitely funny. He definitely has an opinion about everything. But he's a good boy. He loves night turnout. Oh my gosh. Loves night turnout. Loves it. He does not like the bugs. So he's been really enjoying night turnout. We were worried because he sometimes runs in turnout. Nope. He loves night turnout so much. So that's been good. So anything else? Anybody have any questions? I have him on senior feed. She's got a lot of senior horses in her barn, and when he came, we wanted something. Gave him the calories without the sugar. He's just fine on it. So, and I was thinking about switching him to Ultium, but then I was looking at senior feed is actually more nutritious and higher protein. So I'm just leaving him for now. So you'll see in that photo, he had a sarcoid on his chest. So actually my friend who's a veterinarian, she told me just to put Exteric ointment on it, and it actually stimulates their immune system, and it actually forces it to heal itself. So he had a couple sarcoids, so that's why he's got the little mark on his chest.
So he hasn't had any anxiety or anything. And I know Lauren with Rhea has had some issues with her.
Anxiety when I ride him, or anxiety?
just being in a new environment,
Well,
away
he
from the
definitely,
track.
definitely the night he showed up, he definitely chewed the barn door, his stall door. That only that first night. I
Wow.
think it was just so new to him. Anxiety, when we turned him out in the rehab paddock, he's so smart. He didn't like being that far away from the other horses, so he would whinny and run a little, and the other horses would come galloping up, and he's like, "Oh, you're here. Okay, cool." And he would stop, and they're running now because he was screaming and running, and he's like, "Oh, okay, you guys are here." So I think it was more, not necessarily anxiety, just more of trying to get his confidence.
Mhm.
So he sometimes, he's been pretty good lately, but he sometimes, he doesn't, in the outdoor, he doesn't like leaves blowing on the trees, which makes it a little hard in the summer. So I have to be a little cautious about that because he'll start doing this. So today, actually, because it was windy, I took him for a hand walk, because I want to take him where I want to trail ride him. So I was like, this is a perfect day. Let me hand walk him so he gets used to all the sights and sounds without me on his back. I will say I rode him right before Easter, right after Easter. I had been sick, and so I wasn't out there consistently, and I got on him, and I was in the outdoor, and I was a little too confident. And I went to add leg to make him trot, and he's like, no. I'm like, no, add leg, go forward. And he did stand up on me, and I was like, oh my God. And but he was like fine after that, I got back on him, but I was like, that I wasn't expecting that. So I've had to learn not to force the issue with him, but make him think it's force it, but not make him think I'm making him do it. So yeah.
It needs to be his idea.
It has to be his idea. I was talking about it with the ladies at the tack shop, and they said, you just have to treat him like a husband.
I
Like,
was
you
just
have to
gonna
make
say that.
his idea. You have to make it his idea. So, but he's very sensitive to my leg, right? When he's listening, it just literally takes a little touch on his side, and he'll float into a nice trot. So, anxiety, he does not. We have a piebald doe, so she's half white, doe on our property. He hates that thing. He gets so scared when he sees her. He just runs. He's like, he knows she's a freak of nature. But he's really super smart. I had to learn that when I got on him, I couldn't let him get away with not doing what I wanted him to do, because then I'd spend 2 weeks fighting a battle to get him to do what I wanted to do. So I would say maybe about 5 weeks ago, I was trying to ask him to trot. He wouldn't trot. So I'm like, you know what? We're just gonna walk in here until you decide you're gonna pick up the trot. And he tried to fight me a little bit, and I just kind of ignored it. And finally, he trotted. I'm like, good boy. And then we ended, right? So like, that was what I wanted, end. So I tried to end it when he's been fighting me. I try to end it sooner rather than later. Like, if he's done what I've asked of him, I stop, because I want him to remember that he got to stop when he was a good boy. So if I get him to stop and he's a bad boy, then he decides he can be a bad boy.
So what are your future plans with him? Is it just mainly trail riding, or are you going to do any kind of showing? Or
I had big dreams when I got him. Oh, I'm going to do a retired resource project. I really want to do that. And then I looked into the process of applying for it, and I'm like, that's too overwhelming for me. Last year was a very overwhelming year for me. My mom was on hospice, and I couldn't focus. It was just like one more thing I couldn't focus on. So I would love to jump him. I actually think I'm going to get my friends, my friend Emily to come and canner him, because she's restarted a lot of thoroughbreds. So I'd rather him have a little bit of confidence, because, you know, my horse that I had till he was 24, the last 7 years of his life, we really just walked trotted because he had some soundness issues, mostly walked, really. It was only on a good day I would trot him. But so I want him to be confident. He definitely senses when I'm having a bad day or I'm nervous or something. So that would be great. I think he'd really be a great jumper, like be in the jumping ring. But I'll just kind of see how it goes. You know, he did bruise his knee in his last race, so I'm always kind of cognizant of that, even though there's nothing on the x-rays or anything. I'm one that I would rather be cautious and see how it goes versus pushing it beyond where he needs to be, because you know, he'll be my next forever horse. It's not going to be one I'm gonna turn around and sell. So
Anyone
yeah.
else have questions?
I was just going to ask Claire if you've had a chance to go back and watch any of his old races.
So yeah, so when when Grace and I contacted each other, she had sent me his last race, which he won, of course. And then I did go back and look at a couple of his other races. I actually went back and watched Tappett's racing. So Tappett is his grandsire, and they actually race very similar, hanging out in the back and then lunging at the last second. And you know, it was exciting because so Tappett is his grandsire, but Tappett had a lot of offspring and, you know, grandbabies in the Kentucky Derby. That was exciting to me. And when I first, my dentist came, my dentist is Mike Mullen, who is a race trainer as well. He's in Delaware. When he came, I said, well, this is Allied Invasion. And he looks at me, he goes, is his father Normandy Invasion? I said, yes. He goes, good job, kid. Good job. You got a good one. So that was exciting because I really respect him as a horse person. So yes, I have watched it. So
And that's going to be a great conversation starter. You have a former racehorse and his grandpa is Tappett. And if you Google Tappett, I mean, anyone who doesn't know anything about races can see how important he is. So that's got to be a cool conversation starter.
I actually think looking at Alli's coloring, because he does have some silver streaks in his tail, and he is a little bit of a roan, actually. It kind of depends. I feel like he's starting to dapple up again. He was dappled when I caught him. He bleached out in the summer, and he's starting to dapple up again. So I'm wondering if he'll just dapple in the like autumn. But he does have some gray streaks in him, and I'm wondering as he gets older if he's going to get more rony. It just would be interesting to see. So,
thank you.
Yeah. Sure. Any other questions?
Does he have a best friend at the farm that he's at?
So he's turned out by himself only because her herd is pretty established, and the leader of the herd is he was a formerly abused horse. He was abused twice. The woman rescued him 2 times out of a bad situation. So he's got some socialization issues because of his experience, and he's just a flat out bully. So, but it's funny because Alli knows, like when I walk by Archie's stall, he'll just stop. He'll put his head in there. Like, you're the one I'm supposed to win over. So he really likes Archie. Actually, the Chihuahua at the farm, he loves the Chihuahua. She hangs out when he's turned out during the day. She hangs out in the paddock with him. Wow. He loves her. It's really funny. But I think he knows he's not her herd. It's my other horse knew it too, that he was not a part of her horses. He was my horse. You know, long term, I would love to get a second one, but I got financially figure that out.
Right, if only it was buy one, get one free for their bond care and all that.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I had big dreams, and then I was like, yeah, I don't think I can afford that. Plus, I just want to focus on, like, I see her, she's got 3 horses, and she can't ever really give her full attention to all 3, and I'd rather give my full attention to one. But but he's super funny. He's got a very kind eye, but he also, I can tell when he's in a bad mood, because he gets a little devilish look in his face. I'm like, no, you're not doing that today. So yeah. Any other questions?
Can't think of anything.
I talk a lot. Sorry, I teach middle school. I'm used to talking.
No, this
Oh
is
my
great.
goodness, middle
Yeah.
school.
Yeah,
That's a
eighth
good
grade.
thing.
I'm a high school teacher.
Yeah,
I-
8th grade.
I just got moved into the middle school because they're doing construction in our building. We have like a campus,
Yeah.
and my wing is getting redone. So I've just moved into the middle school for this year, and boy, they're little.
I know the 6th graders came in yesterday, and we're like, oh my God, they're so little. And our 8th graders are so tall. It's really funny to see the difference. But
And we have 9th, 10th, and 11th graders in with the middle school. So it's like they were like the one, she's like, I feel giant all of a sudden. And she's not even that tall. It was funny. So I know a little bit of the middle school world right now, because I get to live in it every day.
yeah, last year was the worst year of my teaching career. They were feral. They were feral when they came in.
100%. Mine. I'm about 28 years.
Yeah,
Yeah, worst year of 28.
26. Yeah, 26
Yeah.
for me. Yeah, it was just the absolute worst.
I would not have went back if another job would have fallen into my lap over the summer, because I could retire. I would not have went back, but
Same.
nothing fell in my lap, so here I am again.
Yeah, my nephew, he works for Canva, so it's like a graphic design company, and he's like, Auntie Claire, they're hiring ex-teachers. Of course, I went and looked. It's like in Sydney, Australia. So I'm like, no. I know it cost me $25,000 to move Alli there, and so that'd be a lot of money.
Yeah.
You both need to come to the library to work.
Yeah,
Love
That's
that.
where to go. That's where to go after you teach for a long time.
yeah. So,
And I understand your confidence issues. I've had horses since I was 16,
mhm.
and I lost a lot of confidence at a boarding farm that I was at, and there are days that walking and trotting are enough.
Yeah.
A lot
Yeah,
of
I mean,
days.
Yeah. I mean, and the horse I had, as he got older, I mean, I jumped him like 2'6". He was just, he was a phenomenal jumper. And the trainer I had, I said to her, he doesn't feel right in that front left foot. And she goes, no, he's fine. Okay, well, I'm telling you what I'm feeling. No, he's fine. Keep going. And he was lame for 3 days after that. And I said to her, don't you ever tell me that I'm not feeling what I'm feeling with my animal. I never rode with her again. I was so mad because she's like, well, just inject him. I said, but he's the only one I have. Like, so he actually tore a Therapen maybe about 3 or 4 years ago. And Dr. McCreel came out and did a sonogram, and she said, how long ago did you stop jumping him? I said, at that point, I think it was about 5 years. And she goes, good decision. She goes, he never would have been able to sustain it. But he was like my forever horse. Like, I'm all about them keeping comfortable and being happy, because what's the point? If they can't be happy, what's the point? So, because then I'm not happy.
I had a similar situation with my halflinger when I was right, and he went in this bucking and bolting phase, and if you have any experience with halflingers, really, they don't have that much energy.
Right.
And I was telling my trainer, I'm like, there's something wrong. This is not what this horse does. No, you just ride through it. And there was something, we never could discover quite what it was, probably a deep tissue something, because he's so muscly as a halflinger. between him getting injured and me having knee surgery, he had a year off, and then I pretty much restarted him. But you're always worried and thinking that bucking and bolting going to come back.
Right.
So, and I ride alone a lot.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't want to push too far because you're the only one there.
So I should say, like, I ride alone, but her parents are there.
Oh, that's
but
good.
I always crack up because, like, are they gonna notice? So I was in the outdoor and a deer was like just rustled in the bushes and he spun right and I went left and he took off running. I said, "Don't you run." And he just looks at me and went, "Ee!" And I'm like, "Ugh." So he's running. He ran through the barn. Like and she's like, her property, her barn is actually very far off the road and there's a hedgerow, right? So it's not really like they're inclined to go down the driveway. So I said, well, her dad's in the front field. I mean, mowing. Maybe Ralph, who's not a horse person at all,
Will notice.
maybe Ralph will watch this horse go by and think that's bad. But what Alli actually did is when he got to the hedgerow, he turned left and her dad actually did see it and he comes like flying back up. But by the time he got back there, Alli had turned around and come back to the barn, thankfully. So I'm like, you know what, you are such a jerk, but you're so smart because you went to the other horses. But so, and then Tiffany came out, that's where I keep, and she's like, what happened? I'm like, he just spooked and I just wasn't ready for it. So, yeah, so that's why I've been sticking to the indoor a little bit more. But he's gotten more confident. Like he looks out, like, because the indoor is actually very open and you know, he notices things like her dad was walking the dogs and he went and he was watching them and he watched them by one door and I'm like, it's all right, go watch them. And then he knew they were coming up by the other door, so he walked over to the other door and looked out and was waiting for them. So he's funny. So that kind of rattled my cage a little bit. So, but now I feel I'm a little more confident. Like even if someone's not at the property, I'll text her neighbor and just say I'm getting on, and she'll say, text me when you get off. So
I do that. I call someone. I'm like, I'm getting on. If you don't hear from me in 45 minutes,
yeah,
you might want to call me back. Make sure I'm
you know,
okay.
and I know, like with Apple Watches, if you fall, it'll call 911. But where I am, the farm, the service is so poor, I can't really rely on that. So
yeah, but I do similar. Like if I'm the only one there, someone needs to know I'm on. Then when I get off, they need to know I'm off.
Yeah.
And one time I forgot to call, and my parents drove out to the barn. I'm like, "Oh, sorry. I'm good. Thanks for coming."
Yeah. I mean, even with my older horse, I was always cautious, but because you never know. You just never know. But yeah, I also don't want to push it. And I don't want to scare him because then you got to get over him being scared too. So anyway. But he's barefoot, by the way. He's barefoot, pulled his shoes, he's barefoot, he's got great feet. He's got 4 white feet and they're great. I know you guys can't believe that, but my farrier actually comes out, so we trim him at 6 weeks and my farrier comes out at 3 weeks because his left front foot is clubbed and his heel gets contracted. So he corrects the angle at 3 weeks to kind of work on spreading out that heel. So it does make a difference because he couldn't come out in August and he definitely got more contracted. So I'm just thankful he's barefoot, but he can be barefoot. So that's one less thing that I have to pay for. But his feet are good. So I mean, if his feet weren't good, I wouldn't do it. So
And where are you located?
So I'm in central New Jersey. I live in Raleigh, New Jersey. He is boarded at a facility in Ricetown, New Jersey. I'm the only boarder. They had other boarders, but I'm the only one to let stay. So I've been there. I think I've been there about 15 years.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah. So they're more like family. When they go away, I watch the horses and When my mom passed away, I got out there late one night and I was hand grazing him, and her mom came out and she goes, Ralph hand grazed him today. I said, Ralph, Daddy Ruco, who never touches any horse, was hand grazing my horse. Like, I just thought it was super sweet. So yeah.
That's nice. It's nice when you have a place that you can feel like that. They look out for you and you look out for them.
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
I'm in Michigan, so.
Awesome. Yeah.
He looks happy.
Mm-hmm.
He is happy. He's a good boy.
He's in wonderful hands.
Thank you. I try. You know, when I lost my Levi, one of the veterinarians at the practice who had done so much. Levi had endotheliitis, so he had an eye issue, and he ended up having to have an enucleation. But when I put Levi down, there was a new vet. She'd never met him before, and I was like, oh. I'm like, listen, if you want to call Dan and Lindsay and but I'm telling you, it's his time. He's just got to go. And she said, no, I'm confident with the decision. And I had a text from Dan that night, and he said, listen, I talked to Danielle. I got to say, you're one of my favorite clients in practice because you always do what's right. And you always advocate. You always argue with me when you don't think that that's the right course of action. And he goes, you're always right. So that respect, I enjoy having that respect because I work hard for it. Because I want to do right by animals. So anyway.
Well, does anybody have any other questions? If not, I don't want to take up too much of Claire's time.
I could talk about horses all day, don't worry.
Oh yeah, I think all of us can. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate, I had just asked Claire, send me a couple of videos or a photo or two, and you put together this whole ensemble for me, which I really appreciate. And this has been wonderful. So thank you so much.
I hope to get like real photos, because one of my former students, her dad said, Taylor's coming out and she's going to do real photos of you and your horse. So I said, okay, that sounds good.
Oh, that'll be wonderful.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for that. I kind of want to do it before he gets his winter coat. So hopefully, yeah, I'm really excited to have him. He definitely brings me a lot of joy. So.
We love hearing about horses that
we're excited that you have him too.
Yeah, he's a good boy. Yeah, I knew when I saw him, and my friend Tiffany was saying, no, you need to find another horse. They're not going to retire him. I said, I'm in no rush. I'm not. And so I'm glad I waited. So anyway.
We are glad you waited too.
Yeah. It seems like it worked for both of you.
I hope so.
Well, thank you for the update.
Yes, thank
Sure.
you so much. And I know beginning of the school year, so I appreciate you taking the time tonight.
No problem. I'm happy to update you guys anytime you want to do this again.
Oh, thank you.